Yay!
Hello, hello. How is everybody
Yo!
doing? Welcome to this cool stream of Toon Boom, where we're going to talk about harmony and games and how the two relates and how you can make games with harmony and why it's fun. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, my name is Mel. It's actually Marie-Ève, but I go by Mel because it's easier for everyone. And I am joined up today by none other than the legendary Rene, who's
Hi,
listening
everybody.
often.
It's a pleasure to be back. I'm so happy to be back.
I'm happy you're back. Yeah. And
Yay!
and yeah, so I think it's gonna be fun because for once I'm the one sharing the screen and asking the questions. It's gonna be different. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just gonna wait a little bit so that people can, come in, be comfortable, and join in on the chat. And in the meantime, Rene, do you mind introducing yourself to us and to me and our lovely audience?
Of course. So, I'm Rene, Rene Rivers. I am a 2D animator. Also, I do a little bit of 3D. I am based in Puerto Rico. I work at Gladius, and I've been there for 6 years. And from time to time, I'm also doing a little bit of Game Grumps Animated with some really cool friends, especially the host over here.
Like me!
And on my you. And on my free time, I also help around at the Shenanigan, which is an international group of wonderful artists and animators that are like doing a bunch of wonderful stuff and bringing joy for Harmony and Storyboard Pro. Um, and also we've been doing like a little secret. I mean, it's not secret anymore; it's been already posted. But we've been working on a little project called the Superbs, which is really fun because it's like finding fun ways to teach about art sins, and how to avoid them because you don't want to get the Superbs to attack you. That would be really bad. But yeah, lots of fun stuff.
Do you have an example of art sins some people do?
I mean, I could always go with not naming your layers. Have you named your layers right now?
I will. No.
Oh no!
I don't have enough layer to name them. Okay, I think there's a rule that if you have 5 layers or less, you don't have to name them. But I don't know. Okay, so that's the construction.
Let's make it a rule.
Basic construction, and that'll be this less basic construction because it's still construction. Okay. And for those of you wondering, what I'm doing is called a isometric construction background grid. I mean, isometric is just only actual term. Isometric perspective is usually the perspective used.
How do you do it?
What? I don't know what I'm doing. It's a background made in a isometric perspective. You know, the usual perspective used in a lot of like dungeon crawling and top-down games on your phones and whatnot. All the apps and stuff. So, yeah.
Like Tunic. I love Tunic.
Oh yeah, Tunic was a really cute game. So yeah, that's what I'll be sketching on to, have a little visual during our little talk together. So, I have a question for you. Oh, and by the way, if anyone in the chat has a question, you can always let us know. We will try to answer it as much as we can. And yeah, so don't be afraid to ask any questions, either on Twitch or on YouTube. We are keeping an eye on both. Yay! Okay. So. Can you tell us a little bit about your, like the last couple of projects or things you did that were relevant to gaming? Because I think you worked on a very cool little pig game. Right.
So, yeah, back in 2020, I was working on a little project called Ese Pobre Lechon, which is a little mobile game that released for Thanksgiving. Because over here in Puerto Rico, we, besides eating turkey as well as a side thing, we also eat pork for Christmas and Thanksgiving. So it's like we're helping this little pig run away from the farm before it gets slaughtered.
Oh no.
Um, I had the honor to be part of the animation team. But yeah, I had the honor to be part of the animation team. I was in charge of helping, like managing with my other coworkers as well, to do the animation, the skins, make sure that the UI was animated as well, alongside with my UI and UX animator artists as well. It was a really fun and experimental process. Um, and yeah, a lot of the work was done in Harmony, and yeah, it was a really fun experience, and it was very challenging because it was my first time working on a game. But I'm really happy how it turned out.
Was there a reason why you guys?
Also, I'm also
Go for it. Go for it.
working. Hmm.
No, go for it.
Okay. Um, Also, we are working on another game, and I helped do the trailer in Harmony. It was really fun because I was able to use most of my cutout knowledge that I had in that time. It's called Bats. It's coming soon. You might
Oh
look it up on
right.
YouTube. It's a really fun game. It has like a very Paper Mario esque kind of art style cutout. So it's something that I'm really looking forward to be working soon as well and adding more to that. In a future Twitch stream, maybe I'll share more about it.
That would be fun. That would be very
Yeah.
nice. And is there a reason why you like to do your art in Harmony? Because there's so many software we can use to do games. But like, why good old Harmony?
I would say that the versatility of the tools in Harmony is what keeps me going back. Like I have so many programs that I have in my tablet, in my computer, in my Nintendo DS sometimes.
Right.
And Harmony is the all with Flimdo. But with Harmony, I'm always like drawn back to it because drawn. Um I'm drawn back to it because the simplicity, the versatility, the all the vector tools, all the bitmap tools, the textures. Oh my god, the cutter, the nodes,
Oh, the cutter tool
everything
is
that
really
Harmony
great.
offers is really fun. Hmm. It makes me, like whenever I want to rest, I can use my mouse, I can use my tablet, I can do a lot of stuff with Harmony, and I like it. It's very like, what's the word?
Flexible, like
My
it allows you to
computer
do
doesn't
many
show
different things. Oh, it's efficient. Like
that
your computer
too.
doesn't lag on it
Yeah.
too much. Oh, that's
Uh-huh.
cool.
Yeah, my computer works really well with Harmony. And yeah, like, like whenever you're using a computer and you have a program that works efficiently and doesn't crash as much and it's very, stable, I mean, that's worked a lot too.
It is. It is. Oh well, that's good to hear. And yeah, that's pretty interesting. By the way, for what I'm doing, if
I
people
like the
have any
house.
questions, thank you. It's it's not easy to say stuff at the same time as you draw. So I'm a bit of an autopilot at the moment. But I do have some little advice to give if anyone wants to try this. Okay, so in life, I am not a background artist at all. It's not something I am good at, and not to throw a pity party here, but you have to understand your strengths and weaknesses in this world. Making background has never been my strength ever. I know how to do it though, and how to teach it because I taught it in animation school to students that were in a failing situation. My teachers thought it was a good idea to pair them with me. It's someone who was not great at perspective. They're like, "Well, you're not good at it, but you know how to teach it." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, probably." So I know how to teach it. I'm just not great at it in any shape or form. So to to give us some time to think about our answers in this little video together today. I will also be giving some little tips and tricks on how to be a better background person. So one of the first tips I have to give is, if you're not great at background like I am, don't worry, don't think too much about a single, like a 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective, 3-point perspective. Keep that for later. Try something simple. Try isometric perspective. And you can do it by using the guide's view in Harmony, getting one of the guides that's called isometric perspective. And the good thing with those is that you don't have to worry about like the distance between the points, or how your background is kind of staged in your camera, and your vanishing points being too far apart or too close is going to deform your perspective. Because the great thing with isometric is that it is kind of like not a fake perspective, but like it will always be the same angle no matter where you are. So it's like an infinite map, and you can just keep drawing other houses and whatever things you want to do, which is good if you're just trying to get the grasp of it. So if you're self-taught, or you just want to try something simpler that is not super complicated, try that. It's really cool. Okay, so that's my first tip of today. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now back to our little questions.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, do you have anything to add about isometric perspective yet? Do you think it's great? Do you hate it? Do you have any opinions on the matter?
Oh no, I love it. It's like one of the many ways that you can express perspective in a really fun way, and you can learn so many stuff. I like it because it feels like you're kind of sculpting something,
Right?
and it's really fun. I remember when I started doing backgrounds, a friend of mine gave me this advice, and I always have it in my mind whenever I'm doing something experimental when it comes to backgrounds. And he told me, think about it like you're sculpting a rock and making form out of it.
That's
And
a
once
good
that
tip.
came in my mind, I was like, huh. Mm-hmm. Everything clicked after that. So yeah.
That is a very good tip. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay. So
Yeah.
what are some 3 key kind of features that you really like to use, specifically to animate the games you were working on in the past? You can think about it. I'm drawing, so take your time. It's fine.
There's always going to be the... Yeah. Let's see. Tools. I mean, obviously the brush and the pencil tools are very, very important for the pipeline and the workflow.
Do you prefer to draw
also,
with the
I would say
pencil
that
or the
the
brush?
peg for... I mean, I prefer using the pencil because I can quickly like manipulate the lines and make it work. But if it is like something more messy, something that it's a little bit more experimental, organic, the brush tool is always a good choice. I would also say that the apply to all frames tools is really useful for whenever you want to like move something, instead of depending on the pegs. But you can also use the pegs. You're using the guidelines, which is also very important because you need to always like try to centralize the frames for the, whenever we need to do a spreadsheet or something like that. And
What do you mean by
things very
guidelines?
uniform. So that's it.
What do you mean by guidelines?
Like like when the grid lines.
Oh, what I'm using now, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's it.
Didn't think about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so great! I made the fence exactly the right length. How? This is wow! I'm impressed.
Nice.
I will pat myself on the back. That's pretty great. Oh yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. Okay.
Like a little
How did
pool.
you? What?
Like a little pool.
Oh, a pool in the
A
ground?
pool.
I could do that. Yeah, that would be cool. And when I do that, can you tell me how did you learn how to use Harmony to do what you do? Like either maybe like tips to get like for the gaming or like just how to use it in general. Do you have some advice for that? What is your story?
Well, I have two ways of learning, right? One of my like at first, like open the program, just look around, draw, feel comfortable with it, and just play around with it, right? But once you've hit like some kind of wall, going on Google, it's really really useful. And YouTube as well. Um, I I would say that a lot of us, stumble upon the Toon Boom Learn website, the Seabird Brain channel,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
many wonderful tutorial channels that are very good to start learning how to use Harmony. I also recommend the Toon Boom Learn and the Seabird Brain channels because they're filled with so many tips and tricks that will like. I would say that for me, a highlight of every Wednesday was like catching your video, and be like, oh, something new that I'm going to use in my
Something new.
pipeline. So yeah, like, hmm but before learning a lot of those things, it's really important to learn the basics and play around with the software because you can watch many videos, but if you don't practice, then that knowledge is not going to go anywhere. So you need to watch and practice, watch and practice.
Good advice. Good advice. I have regrets of doing this fans now. It's annoying. Which is why I don't do backgrounds. I'm like, oh, that's fun, and then I get
Are you
bored
on?
of it.
Are you on the fence about it?
Gross. Puns, puns, puns.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to make a pool. I made a pool here. There's a
They
hole with
come, they
water.
go.
I'm gonna go do that now. Okay, well, that's very interesting. Thank you for
Oh, there it
sharing.
is.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I should make like little fans on it.
Of course.
Oh, little learning moment here. How do you find the
Ooh.
center of something when you're doing perspective? This is true for isometric, but it's true for any kind of perspective. If I have a shape like, if I have this, okay, yeah, I'm gonna make, yeah, this is my, how do we say, the thing you climb with, ladder. There we go, ladder. How would I know where is the center of that thing? It is pretty simple, actually. To find the center of whatever you have in perspective, you can either eyeball it, which after a few years you should be pretty good at in the industry. Oh my god, we're really good at eyeballing the center of something. Apparently, there's an echo on my end. That is weird. I unconnected and reconnected my mic. Let's see if it solves it. Okay, so how do you find the center of something in perspective? It's pretty simple. I'm gonna deactivate my my guides, and then all you have to do is I'm gonna take this green color here. All you have to do is go from one corner to the other, and we're gonna draw an X like this. And it is just like, geometry, math. Where the two line meets, that will be the center. So either the center in length or the center in how wide your shape is. And when you do backgrounds like that, it's important not to use too thick of a line. Because if you're doing this, there is a lot of error margin to try to find the center of these shapes. So a lot of times when you do like backgrounds, sometimes if you want to be precise and you're starting out, like training your eyes, it's a good thing to try to work with, thinner lines. Of course, when you get used to it and when you're doing backgrounds for a living, people don't always use these like X guides and stuff because, you get used to it. So they can just kind of eyeball it and work with thicker stroke and just they know what they're doing. But when you're learning, give yourself all the chances and put them all on your side. Um, yeah, so that was my little tip of drawing backgrounds for games. And now we're going to go back to our lovely guest. Are you still here, Rene? Okay, good.
I am here. That was lovely advice.
What part of the pipeline is your favorite to do into the when you did your animations for games?
I feel that the planning out of it it's really fun because you get to explore and find how far you can like make your characters move. And then after we're done with that, then we can back down a little bit. Something that was really funny during the process of the pig game was that originally when the pig would get caught, he was gonna be burned in a stake. But we found that a little bit too gory, I would say. So instead of getting stabbed by the stake, we tied it down on a fire pit. So it's stuff like that. So we were like, brainstorming ways of the pig dying or getting caught, ways of the pig like reacting to certain things, and yeah, like stuff like that. So I feel the pre-production out of it, and then obviously, the production side of things is really fun. And once you see everything like compiling and taking shape, it's like really wonderful to see as well. So I would say as well that post-production as well, I like to do a little bit of everything, as you might know me for a couple of years. Like if I'm not doing pre-production or production or post-production, I'm pretty sure doing something else. But yeah, I like to dip my toe in a couple, like not a couple, but a little bit of different roles from time to time. As long as I'm animating, I'm happy.
Yep, you're a super busy man. Always keeping busy with lots of projects.
Mm-hmm.
Another tip before we head to the other question: when you're doing your game work or any work, that's also true for animation work and stuff. When you are doing your work, one of my advice is to have a little character like that. And this character will be like what the usual like average human size of your project will be. Because if I'm doing this and then I go to another point and I want to make like the pool I was talking about, if I make the ladder like this, it's a bit too big for my little guy. So it's good to have these that you can carry around. And the good thing with isometric perspective for games is, and that's one of the reasons why it's used so much, is that your character is always going to keep the same size wherever it is in the screen. So if I just take my character here, and then I can do my pool the right size to make a little shelf, not shelf, a ladder that will fit my character a bit more than if it was just a random thing. It helps with Unity. Okay. What are some of the different tasks? Because I asked what was your favorite, but you have some example of what are some tasks you would need to do when you're working on a game with a team? Because I'm pretty sure it's a bit different than in TV. For context, in TV, usually if you're an animator on a show, you receive a scene, and then you import the storyboard. You might have to import the backgrounds, and then you kind of start to work and you animate the scene to the dialogue. But when you animate for game, the pipeline is so much different. And let's be honest, it's going to be very different on many different games. So your experience might be different than other people's experience.
Yeah, it depends on case.
Which is why we keep what?
Mm-hmm. It's like a case by case situation.
Yeah. Which is why we keep having so many different amazing guests. But yeah, so on your project, for example, with the we can start with the pig one and then the bats one, because I'm pretty sure the process was a bit different for both. So yeah, what was the kind of process for the pig game? Was it hand drawn? Was it a
Oh, the
cutout
pig
thing? Was
name.
it
Normally
hybrid?
it was hand drawn. Normally what we did was we started out doing the rough animation. Mostly the lead animator was in charge of that. And then I would step in and also do help out with tie downs and stuff like that, right? So once me and the lead animator worked on those things, then we started dividing the files depending on the action of the pig. And after that, I started handing it out to the animators to clean it up, the cleanup animators. And once we were done with the cleanup and we all did all the actions and stuff like that, right? Um, I got handed all those files. I created like a master file in which I would stack up all the animations and did the official sprite sheet from that. At first, it was a little bit experimental because we didn't know what was the most efficient way to do it. The first thing that we did was we did a PNG sequence, and then one by one we would put it on a grid in Photoshop, and that was not good. That was not the best way, but it was part of the process. I like to mention it because it was very painful to, like to figure things out. But yeah, the first draft of it was that we put it on Photoshop on a grid. It was perfect grid sprite sheet kind of thing. But it didn't work out. Everything was like not aligned as properly as it should be. So what we did was instead was move the grid to Harmony, right? We did the same thing. It took a long time to do it, and it didn't work out quite well as well. It was getting there, but it was not quite well. At the end of the day, since we were doing hand drawn and we had pegs and all of that, our solution was to create a normal PNG sequence, send it over to the programmer, and the programmer was able to frame by frame, with the help of the animators, to adjust it, and that's how we were able to get the animations working, and it was really good. That is also like another way that we did. Later on, we found out that there are tools that could create like sprite sheets, and we have used those new tools as well, like plugins and stuff like that, and it has definitely helped us. I know that with Unity as well, and Toon Boom, they have specific also plugins that are really useful. So yeah, it depends on the game. I would say like um, depends on the project. You can use either the plugins that Toon Boom provides, or in our case, we use the PNG sequence and then we made it like a flip book kind of thing in Unity or Real, depending on the this engine that we were using.
Okay, sorry for the little problem. I think my mic needs to be checked after because it's not behaving. Behave, please. But yeah, okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. What I was saying is, I'm thinking. I thank you, Rene, for sharing your experience that didn't go exactly as planned, because this is so important. Whenever people do a project or like a video game or something, oftentimes we're trying to find like a guide that's going to take you from A to Z exactly how to create your dream game. But like, this doesn't exist because so many things are different, and making mistakes is such a big part of the process. And I'm a big advocate for people sharing their non-successful stories, because then it makes it more realistic, and people kind of know that everybody makes mistakes and it's just part of the process. Um, and I'm glad you guys found what works good for you. In Harmony, when it comes to exports, there's so many different ways to export, and it will vary depending on if you're doing an OS game or a computer game, or if you're using Unreal or Unity or Game Maker. There's so many things you can use. And one of the like the three main exporter, or you can export as a GIF and then use the GIF to compile into your gaming engine, because every GIF will be exported into the same like square image. So because it's because it's a GIF, the character will always be centered into this image, which then this GIF can be used to make a sprite sheet in another software. Um, you can also use Harmony's sprite sheet exporter, and this is located into the gaming toolbar, which you can find by right-clicking into the toolbar void here, and you can just find game. And in this toolbar, which I will show you and make it bigger now, there's a few icons that you can use. One is to make anchors, the other one is to export to easel.js, and the other one is a sprite exporter. So depending on what project you're using, there's these two main exporters that you can use on top of the GIF one. And then if you're making a hand-drawn game or a cutout game, that is also different. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to do it, and I'm glad that you guys found it by trial and error. And now before we go to the next question, third tip of the day, if you're doing backgrounds for a game or anything else. Another reason why isometric perspective is so great and why it is used in is that since the perspective is always the same angle for everything, it means that if I drew this cube here, this unit cube, if I make it bigger or smaller, it's always going to be perfectly aligned into the perspective of your background. Which means that if you make like a block or house or like a bush and you want to make it bigger, then we can move and rescale anything and it works in this grid. Which is very great, because if you're just learning out and your tree that you drew is not exactly aligned where you want it, you will be able to take this object and move it in your background and it works. If you're working with more like animation or like backgrounds perspective, such as 2-point, 1-point, or 3-point perspective, if you move something, it's going to go away in the distance, therefore it's going to change size and stuff. So it's a bit less forgiving, if I can just put it like that. Which is why isometric perspective is great to start, and it's a great thing to do in games. Okay. So next question. How different was it to work on the pig game and on the bat game? Because I think you made a game that was more hand-drawn and a game that had a bit more cutout element. Or maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, we haven't started. No. Yeah, there's a difference. There's definitely a difference. For the bats game, we haven't.
You don't have to think too much about the project itself, because I know there's
you know,
NDAs and stuff. But yeah, just
yeah.
The pipeline.
Yeah. But by production wise, they're completely different, because the pig game is mostly like a hand-drawn hybrid kind of thing. Like it's mostly, like your normal pipeline of rough, tie down, cleanup, color, and maybe a little bit of compositing, right? With bats, it's different because we are creating simple shapes and we're using very basic cutout like techniques to move the characters. So the animation, it's a little bit limited in that aspect, but it looks so good and fun at the same time. We're using a little bit of deformers and stuff like that. So, so it's like basically, using all that cutout knowledge that I've been learning for a couple of years and putting it into a game, which is really fun. And like with cutout, even though it's limited, you can do so much with little stuff. So I like it a lot. So yeah, like it's like a very drastic change from. I mean, it's a drastic change because we're changing from one technique to the other, but they're still two wonderful, viable things, and they fit the art style to each, right? So whenever you feel like a little bit, this is for everybody, applies for everybody. Whenever you feel like you're doing something new, take it as an opportunity to expand yourself and make sure that, like sometimes things can be a little bit simpler, sometimes can be a little bit difficult or complex, but that doesn't matter because you're learning something new and you just gotta like, take advantage of the moment. So that's, I I for one, I like a lot of cutout because of the limitations and how you can like push them. So I'm always up for that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Tip of making game number 4, the box. I'm building onto something. So what I was making earlier when I talked about the unit, is I made a box like this, and the good thing in Harmony is that you can take this box, which is equal to 1 unit into the perspective that I have now. And then I used it, and I used this drawing to make a stamp. If you don't know how to make a stamp, you can check out the documentation or one of the videos I made. And the good thing is that now that I have this unit, I can press, when you draw in Harmony, you can press on O to change the size of your brush. In a stamp, it's the same. You can stamp it, and then you can press O to make it bigger or smaller. And then you can use this to kind of populate your scene. So here, I want to draw little bushes by the water. I just drew a bunch of cubes, and I'll be able to make, a new layer and call it bushes, because otherwise Rene is going to be angry. Bushes. And then, I can take my brush, and I'll be able to really start sculpting these bushes. And since I'm making them with the unit brush, I know they're going to be the good size. And then I know that if I take these and I, copy paste them, they're still going to be okay. And so these are bushes, but maybe with a bigger cube, I can be like, okay, well, this is going to be a house eventually. Remember, if I want to find the center of this, I can make a little X and then bring this up. And then this will be the center of my house. Yeah, to make the roof. So, making little cubes like that with the stamp tool is a pretty cool tool to use. And if any of you is a fan of Minecraft, you can make little Minecraft trees by doing a little trunk and then, using these little cubes to, make a tree. That is a tree, in my opinion. Little tips like that. And then if you clean it, it'll give you a beautiful project. Using these little cubes can be very useful if you're like me and you have no sense of depth when you exist or when you draw. I'm very prone to running into walls in real life, so imagine just trying to draw anything in perspective. Not great. So this can help you have a sense of 3D depth in your scene. Yay, amazing. Okay. And Rene, do you have any future project you would like to maybe try and do using Harmony for games? Just like future talking like that. Anything that you would like to try that you haven't yet, because there's so many possibilities, right?
Something that I would really like is to expand my knowledge using the Unity plugin that Harmony has. I've been playing around with it a little bit, but yeah, like I would be down to learn a little bit about programming and using those tools to see if I can make, I don't know, maybe a little bit like Kirby-like game with maybe our shenanigan folk or something like that. It would be something really cool to do as a free time project. Also, I would like to expand my rigging and cutout skills and put it to test with that as well. It'll be, those are things in the pipeline for the future.
Very, very nice. And speaking of skills, because you mentioned your rigging skills and whatnot, is there some? Do you think if there's some skills that you developed while working on games in Harmony? Drawing skill or just Harmony skills, whatever.
I feel that, yeah. I mean, especially cleanup has been very important in that pipeline. Making sure that your poses are very, very direct and very special. I would say it's really important because normally with TV and film, you can like cheat a little bit more, but with gaming, you have to be a little bit more limited because you can do so many frames in a game. It'll make it really heavy. So you have to be very precise about what you want to convey in your game. So I feel that something that for any animator that is into gaming should know by now is that really clear poses, really good silhouettes, and making sure that your animation, while limited, works really well with the context. It's prime, I would say, for any production. That's something that I learned. Sometimes we would do, for example, for the pig, we would do animation scenes that would take like, I mean, not scenes, but actions that would have taken like 100 frames, and we have to lower it to 8 frames. So it was really painful going
100 frames
deleting
to
those
100
frames,
frames
but
to
it's
10.
it was insane, but we
Wow.
made it work. We made it work. Because we wanted to add a lot of character to the pig, but it was affecting the gameplay. It was making the game heavier, and it was impossible for us to put it on the stores, on the app stores. So we needed to cut down a lot of like space and size. So that's how we were able to manage that, and it still works well. It animates really nice. It was just a learning experience because like we are trained. I was trained as a TV and film animator, so going to gaming was a little bit shocking, but I still enjoyed it a lot.
What about the silhouette of the character? Is it important to have a clear silhouette? Why?
It is very important because not only you have to like also as an animator you have to act and think like the character. You got to think as the player and make sure that your character is visible in the game, that it's moving on the level really well. So a really nice silhouette will also do so much for the gameplay experience, and you're going to be able to see your character move around, and it won't get lost with everything else happening on the screen.
Very interesting. Yeah, just remember, folks, because sometimes I know people that are like, "Oh, I'm a game designer," and I see their characters, and for like an iOS game, like a super small mobile game, they're making kind of like a Final Fantasy character with like 500 belts and zippers and stuff, and I'm like, you might be zoomed in on your character at the moment, but remember that in the screen, it's gonna be very tiny, a very tiny character. So always think of the silhouette, either of the pose, but also of the design, and try to have a clear um, design that you can see from far away and in a second, because there's a lot of quick actions in games. So yeah, think of a nice silhouette in your games. Especially
Is
if
that
you're
a
making a side
surfboard?
scroller or like a game, it really helps to have a way to identify which way your character is facing. If he's facing this way or like the other way, maybe it's with a ponytail, or if it has ears, like making the ears go back or something. Because it really helps to know the player. Like, am I going left or right? So yeah, little advices like that. What were you gonna say, Renee?
No, I was asking if you were doing like a little surfboard, but then you deleted it.
Oh, that could have been cool. I'll do it. And
But
in
yeah,
the
that's
meantime,
lovely
yeah.
advice. It helps a lot.
Wait, what helps a lot?
The advice that you were giving.
Oh, I try. But yeah, speaking of adding a surfboard, if I'm adding a detail, don't and I'm not a seasoned background artist, don't forget to use the guides. And you can, if I want to make a surfboard, I can make myself a little rectangle. Of course, if I was doing this for an actual game, every bit would need to be like a block. Like they would have like a scaled unit. I don't have that because I'm not actually making a game. I'm just fooling around. Pretty much, you have to make sure that your surfboard has the right unit count and stuff. But I don't. So I'm just gonna make a little rectangle like this. And having this rectangle will be very useful to kind of try and plan where your surfboard will be. And then on the other layer you can just start to loosely sketch it. If you're really starting out, I always advise to find the middle of your shape first, as usual. But oops. because you might be wrong, like I was. And then it's gonna make things look a lot better in general. Yeah, that would be my little surfboard, and once it's there, you can paint some details in and whatnot, little fins maybe. Hope I put them the wrong way. Anyway, surfboards are pretty great. um, hey, we already just have barely 10 minutes left. The time goes so fast. Do you have any advice, general advice you want to give, Rene, to people listening to us today?
I would say that whenever you're struggling, right? When a new skill or a new role, make sure to take a deep breath. Meditation is really important for everybody here. But yeah, like take a deep breath and like write things that you're maybe like having doubts, and then you can go on Google and search it up. Go to YouTube. Um, I know that Toon Boom Learn and Lucy Bird Brain Channel on YouTube are very good resources to start. Um, and like whenever you have any doubts, you can always reach out to the Discord over here at Discord. Toon Boom, and also you can reach out at the Shenanigans Seabird Brain Channel as well. There's a lot of good folks that are always like making sure that everybody has their doubts answered, questions answered. Let's see what other advice I would say. Sometimes it's good to take like little breathers and take a walk, watch a movie, listen to music, get inspired in any way possible. Because if you sit down all day, you're not gonna get inspired. You're not gonna get motivated all the time, because as much as we love our craft, right? As much as we love working, we need our little time for ourselves. We need time to enjoy other things. And with that enjoyment, then it comes inspiration and motivation to do more stuff. So give yourself a break as well. I'm pretty sure everybody here that is watching the stream right now, it's taking a little break watching us talk about and looking at our progress, or also working with us together, alongside, I would say. But yeah, like make sure this is a reminder, drink water and take a little walk after we're done with this little presentation. Do something that you really like, enjoy, eat some food that you really like, take a little snack, and yeah, enjoy life.
It is important. And I do see a question in the chat from Robo Sardi. Have you had any experience rigging game characters for Toon Boom? If you do, what are some tools useful for that? If you're rigging a game character in Toon Boom, one thing that is absolutely primordial is to know if you're gonna export sprite sheets or if you're gonna export your character in pieces to your other software. That would be a discussion for another stream altogether. But roughly, the reason why is because if you export a sprite sheet with like the animation frames one after the other, as Rene was talking about before, then you can use any tool you want. Sky's the limit. Any Harmony tool that you want is going to work. But Harmony has a very cool feature where you can take your rig, and instead of exporting a sprite sheet with like the animation frames, what it's going to do is on the sprite sheet, you're going to have maybe like the head of the character, the two eyes, and you're going to have the hand, the arm, the other arm, the feet. It's going to kind of explode your character on the sheet, and then it will be rebuilt into your game engine software, like Unity. And then Unity is going to rebuild your animation in there, which means that it's a very, very light process. Because instead of having massive sprite sheets for all your different animation states, like run, walk, jump, attack, eat, snore, I don't know, paint, you're going to have just the character. And what is exported to the software is a series of XML. Wait, is it XML? It's probably XML. I have a memory blank. And then the other software can just pick them up and reassemble the character in Unity. Which is great. It works great for like your animation tree and whatnot. It's pretty solid. But I take cool. But if you're using this kind of export, You have to be careful because the game engine, they're not as savvy or as smart as Harmony in terms of like the animation tool, because they're not animation software for the most part. So you have to take something that is very specific to the game engine, and it's called the game bone. They are located within the deformer here, toolbar, here. When you have your deformation toolbar, if you're exporting for a game and you're exporting with the exploded rig sprite sheet, you can't use that. Oops. You can't use this one, or this one. You have to use the game bone, and it's very useful because they're easy to see because there's a controller and a bone. So it's literally like a game bone. Makes sense, right? This is similar to a bone deformer, but the difference is that Unity will understand it. And I do have one small advice about it. Is that bones are usually very rigid in the way they move. So if I use a normal Harmony bone, it's very rigid. So does that mean that you can't use something more smooth, more like a curve? It doesn't mean that. It just means that you're going to be a bit more crafty about it. So you can take a bone deformer, but instead of putting your end here and having a very narrow middle point that is very, very rigid, what you can do is take your dot, put it a bit further away like this, and if you make this very wide, you can see here the curve inside will start to get a bit wider, and it will kind of make your bone act like a curve deformer. So it's much, much more curvy in its approach. So that is a trick that everybody uses to kind of make this work. All right, so that's my advice for using deformers in a rig for Unity. But there's many other laws about it that you have to follow,
Nice.
but we can talk about that in a future stream if people are interested about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
What I think about it. Another thing to remember is that Unity doesn't understand art layers the way Harmony does. So you should keep, like everything's going to be exported as one layer anyway. So you can't use all the fancy art layer tricks in your game rig. And if you're using cutters, you can only use one level of cutter. So you can't have a cutter cut another cutter. Everything must be on the same, only one cutter will be understood down the line. So, yeah, but it's pretty fun, and there's so many games that use it, and you can check it out in our demo reel. Yeah, do you have any final words, Rene?
I would say that I was really happy to be here, talking to everybody over here. Yeah.
Well, as usual, thank you so much for taking your time.
Oh, I love the graphs that you're adding.
What?
Mm-hmm. I like the little details that you added to the pool.
Oh, thank you. Like a pond, the pool, I think, but yeah. Small advice before we go. I wanted to do that before, but I forgot. If I want to draw these little lily pads in the pond, a very big beginner mistake that happens is people are like, oh, it's just a circle. I know how to draw a circle. And then they draw a circle, but it's really not aligned into the perspective. Okay, well, it is a little bit, but that's because I have years of training. But if you do this, it's not very aligned. So always remember to work from shapes. So if I want to draw a lily pad in that pond, then you should draw a little square for it first. Especially if you're just training your eyes. Draw a why can't I draw? Oh, I locked it, that's why. But yeah, so draw the little cube I was talking about, to draw a square, and then use this as a reference to draw your circle. Drawing ellipses in perspective takes practice, but it's a skill that is worth practicing. And then you can take that circle and just now, no matter where you put it, it's going to be a perfect circle. So you can just use that all the time, and you're going to have a bunch of circles that you can then use as a reference. Very important when you're learning. And that's it. That's my last advice. So I thank you again, Rene, for taking time of your busy schedule to join us. And yeah, unless there's anything else in the chat, which I think there isn't. Final check. Yeah, I think this will be goodbye and farewell, people. Have a nice day.
Bye. Thank you for joining.